these are to help people who are interested in NLP for business and coaching. I've been working in this particular area for, I keep saying over 30 years, it's over 35 years now. And I've focused completely for the business and coaching side. And yesterday we were doing a talk on how to use the NLP meta model business. And I'll be doing another talk about that. There'll be another free workshop I'll be running next couple of weeks. So I'll let you know about that as well. Okay, so today is all about the story advantage. So how storytelling can transform your coaching and drive success in business. Storytelling is a powerful and persuasive communication tool that can move people to dream big, create big ideas, and accomplish big goals, because to understand a story, we have to become the characters. Some people think, yes, storytelling, so what? You're telling a story. Stories are so powerful. A few weeks ago, I was working with a client that was really struggling with presentation skills. So what I did was I helped her. First of all, we did the NLP spinning technique to help her get into a really good state. We anchored feelings of confidence, and we stacked these anchors. So she had feelings of confidence, feeling of motivation, feelings of calmness, but also the right amount of vital energy that she needed. And what she did, she was able to go out, and she came back to me a few weeks later and said, I cannot believe how these techniques work. They worked absolutely brilliantly. So tell me about yourself. Why are you here? That's the kind of way I will drop a story in with a client. I will start talking about stuff that sounds, and those of you who've trained with me know that I'm telling stories all the time. Every story I say has got a purpose behind it. It's a way of influencing people at the unconscious level, because we get brought up once upon a time. We get brought up with stories. We trust stories. And to make sense of a story, we've got to embody ourselves in the story. But if you're giving very specific messages within that story for someone, for the benefit of that someone, it's so powerful. I wasn't working with a client last week or a few weeks ago about presentation skills. I don't think, I'm actually going to be working with one next week, and she'll get that story. But what you can do, you can make up stories. Your stories don't have to be true. You can make up stories, you can make up situations as if they're true, but you're doing it for a very, very important purpose. It's to guide the person. The person who was really fabulous at this is Milton Erickson. Who's heard of Milton Erickson? Milton Erickson's the godfather of hypnosis. And he's the one that Bandler and Grinder, who are the co-founders of NLP, they modelled Milton Erickson to find out how he was using language so powerfully to get amazing changes. And he's got a very famous story about a young girl that came to him with anorexia. And when she came in, he started talking about growing tomatoes. Have you ever seen the size of a tomato seed? Isn't it incredible the way that tomato seed, you can plant that and it can grow into, a tomato plant's a big plant. But a tomato plant's a really delicate plant. It has to have lots of water, but if you give it too much water, you'll kill it. And have you ever seen tomatoes that grow on a tomato plant that's not had enough water? The skin of the tomato plants, it cracks and it splits. And also the tomato plant loses energy, so it has to have the right amount of feed. You've got to feed tomato plants. You've got to give them a fertilizer to feed them, because if they don't have the right amount of energy, their leaves drop and they droop. So something like a tomato plant, even though it's a big plant, it needs a lot of nurturing. It needs a lot of looking after, because it's actually really delicate. Okay, so why are you here? And this little girl hadn't a clue what he was talking about. If you go into the work of Milton Erickson or the work of Richard Bandler, they're weaving these stories in all the time that you go, what's that got to do with what we're talking about? It's got nothing to do with what you're talking about consciously. But the whole message behind that tomato plant was about nurturing, about looking after, and about how it's so delicate. But you're not saying, if he had gone to that girl, okay, you need to eat, you would get conscious and unconscious resistance. But these are the ways that we can give lots of information with storytelling. So it's huge the way you can help people. And stories simultaneously, they engage our senses and trigger thoughts, memories, and emotions. This way of totally engaging all our senses means we are much more likely to remember what we've heard, especially if you, as a storyteller, go into the characters. And one of the most powerful things that you can do as a coach or a business leader is to tell a story about something you struggled with that you're wanting people that you're leading or coaching to get good at. But when you tell them you're struggling, go into a state of struggle. When I first started in this company and I had to work with this process, I was in total confusion. I had no idea how this was going to work. I thought, no, I'm ready to leave here. This is terrible. I'll never get my head around this. And then I got some help. And day by day, I started to get clarity. And then eventually, I found that, oh, actually, this isn't too bad. I got used to it. And see what I did there? I changed my state from being a confused state to suddenly being in a clear state to a motivated state. When you do that with your clients, you are giving them so much because, and especially in a leader situation, you can help people really feel empowered that, my goodness, if my leader has struggled and they managed to do it, I'll be able to do it. Because in leadership, I'm going to show you the neuroscience behind this in a minute. From a leader's point of view, when a leader can be vulnerable, now you don't tell stories of, I had a terrible time and I never got out of it. That's not what this is all about. It's you tell what was really tough. You give them the process of how you managed to overcome that and where you ended up after that. A story is an account of imaginary or real people and the events told for entertainment. You have an adventure story, or you can have an account of past events in someone's life or the development of something. The story of how I discovered the benefits of using NLP for business and coaching. When you hear people giving presentations, giving talks, they always tell you the story. Who's been to all these big motivational events that they're selling lots of things? And the people that are up there, they're talking about how they were absolutely poverty-stricken and they had nothing and they struggled and they never thought they would ever get out of it. And they bought this product and this product changed their life, or they brought this course and this. And then all of a sudden people are rushing to pay $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. That's because of the emotion that has been triggered through these stories. So it's really interesting to understand the whole power that's behind it, because a story just seems like a little simple thing that you get told as kids. It transcends the individual listener. What I mean by that is you can tell a story to a group and it's appealing to everyone. Stories are more than you. It's allowing you to connect with someone else's situation or the situation of the hero or heroine in the story. We share stories together. The minds between the storyteller and their audience becomes synchronized. This is the bit I absolutely love. This creates a neurological state known as Neuroc Coupling. This is when our brains synchronize with each other, creating a highly collaborative state. Coupling, and this can be measured. Neuroc Coupling brings our minds together and aligns our emotions. When we feel connected to another person through stories, oxytocin, that's the love hormone, is released, flooding our bodies with a positive affection for each other. This bonding influences us to want to act. When you're connecting with someone and you have this neural coupling, when they're taking brain scans, they see the same part of the brain lighting up in both people. And especially when you've got the hormones, the oxytocin being released, that just means it's almost like falling in love. You'll do anything for that person. And think about good leaders. Good leaders are creating that connection with people. If anyone's ever had a good leader, they know they will work really well for their leader. They'll do as much as they can for them. So this synchronization of neural activities can be measured, which allows researchers to observe the brain activity of individuals in real time. And as I mentioned, we've got Jackie Meeks on tonight, and this is what she does. She actually works with all these brain scanning. Neuroc Coupling encourages team members to become more comfortable about sharing thoughts, ideas, and information with their team. This leads to improved communication and collaboration, especially in tasks that require quick decision-making or complex problem-solving. Jackie, can I ask you for a moment? From looking into the brain scans now, what are some of the things we can see? What are some of the activities you can actually measure?
Oh, you can, even without the individual or subject, as we call them,
Yeah.
knowing what we're measuring, we can just present images or scenarios and we just track the parts of their brain that light up. And then when we go in, then we can correlate that to certain emotions and to certain behaviors.
Yeah, and this is what is fantastic. Once upon a time, NLP, these techniques that we use with NLP were only theoretical. And now we've got neuroscientists looking to show that actually we're connecting on a neurological level with the people. Yeah, and this is rapport. This is where rapport comes from, is we're connecting, and the brains will light up in the same place. And you get this incredible empathy and incredible ability to connect with someone. And of course, the minute someone connects with you, you've got quick decision making, and you've got good collaboration, and people trust you. Jackie, you were going to say something. Yeah.
I was about to say that sometimes even just showing images of faces and the reaction that you get from someone and just looking at just the expression and what you think of someone based on their image, their face, what that looks like and what that triggers inside of you. And so we can measure, do you feel empathy for that person or do you feel repulsed? It's amazing.
Yeah.
How, yeah.
So you're seeing, just from showing images of faces, you're seeing different things. So the thing is, when you're telling a story, thank you, Jackie, when you're telling a story, you're using all your senses. It's the one time that we bring the senses in. We talk about how something looks, how something sounds, how something feels. We maybe even bring how something smells and something tastes. Who watches reality television? I highly recommend you do watch some reality television, because it's a lot of although it's slightly scripted, the behavior stuff you can pick up on real-time reality television is incredible. Number of times people will say in reality television, "Oh, you smell really nice." What does that do when you hear someone, you're just seeing them and someone's actually said, "You smell really nice"? Can you feel how just saying these words connect? Oh, I wonder what they smell. Oh, it must be nice. Oh, that's nice. And if someone goes, "Oh, you don't smell very nice," you don't tend to hear people saying that. And I know that's been put in. They've been told to say that sometimes, because what it's doing, it's connecting with other senses. And you can actually build empathy with someone. If you like things to smell nice and someone says, "Oh, someone smells really nice," oh, without even having to smell it, you're in there. So stories, you're connecting with all the emotions, because you're connecting with all the senses. So how to use stories: learn what problems people are facing and research what they need to overcome. So if you want to use stories in presentation, or if you're doing motivational speaking, or if you're just working with your clients and coaching, or if you're leading a team, find out what the problems they're facing and research what they need to overcome. The next time you need to communicate, ask yourself why you're uniquely qualified to be the audience guide. So what you're doing is you're having a reason. What do I want people to take away? What is it I want people to take away? And then start. So if I'm wanting my client to take away confidence, I'll start telling stories about people becoming really confident. People who were not confident, I'll even talk about myself sometimes, that I used to find it really difficult going into networking events, until I started understanding that lots of people are nervous about networking events. And if you look for the person that's really shy and go and say hello to them, the ones that stand about on the side of the peripheral of a networking event, go and speak to them and make them feel comfortable. Now, actually, that is a real story from me. But it's a story I can tell about me being uncomfortable to my client to pass on that technique or that strategy with someone to then be able to use that. And then you ask yourself, identify stories, let's just get back there, identify stories from where you were in a similar journey, encountered comparable roadblocks and emerged transformed, and build the courage to share them. Now, who knows the work of Professor Brené Brown? If you don't know the work of Professor Brené Brown, please look her up on YouTube. She does an incredible TED Talk. And Brené Brown is a scientist who was able to prove that vulnerability equaled courage. Because for business leaders to be able to be vulnerable and talk about a time that they were struggling, and that's what I was talking about before, take the people that you're wanting that to hear that message through the journey, through the steps, through the strategies you used to when everything became a success. But you don't explain the story. You just talk about your story. You take, and this, I don't like to use the word journey. I'm a bit opposed to that sometimes, a wee bit fluffy, but there are certain scenarios where you are taking the brain on a journey. You're taking them through a process of starting, going through a struggle and coming out the other side. I teach this to a lot of my leaders and get them to, it's amazing the stories we get that people will come out with. And then telling a story from a place of conviction is the most powerful communication device you have. That's what the greatest and most beloved communicators do. You can't pretend, if you're wanting someone to get motivated and you're telling them a story about being motivated and being energized, you can't tell them a story like that when you're not the least bit motivated and energized. It's not going to work. You can't pretend to be motivated. Let me just show you. Yeah, I really want you to be motivated. Yes, you can be really motivated, can't you? Yes, you can be motivated. Yeah, I know you'll be able to be motivated. No, shut up. People hate that because I'm not going there. But if I go in, if I'm telling a story, look at, even when I'm doing this, I'm having to change my body posture to do it. Now, I know, now I've just got a feeling straight away in my stomach the minute I did this because I've taken myself into a state of motivation. The chemicals in my body have now taken me into a motivational state. You'll see my face gets slightly flushed when I do this. And I'll say, oh, now, I know you can do this. I really know you can do this, because someone who champions you and tells you stories with passion and tells you stories with enthusiasm, you'll connect with them. Think of some of the best speakers you know. Some of the best speakers, they're taking you through all sorts of emotions and all sorts of situations, and you're getting their passion. And then they risk transparency, revealing their vulnerabilities. Sorry, this, for some reason, this has gone weird on my PowerPoint now. They risk transparency, revealing their vulnerabilities so that they can be mentors and guides who relate to people from places of universal needs and hardship. They connect to their teams and clients that remind us all we're human. In today's business environment, the big thing people are looking for is human-to-human contact. We went through, I don't like to talk too often about everything we went through a few years ago, but it changed the way a lot of people think. It made us understand, there was a lot of empathy came out over the 2 years that we went through COVID. There was a lot of people's mindset, there's a lot of values changed, there was a lot of people started to think of things differently. A lot of people went straight back, as soon as life went back to normal, they just went back to normal. But the days of command and control managing are finished. Leaders have to be seen as human beings. They have to be seen to be able to connect with the people they work with. And this is why NLP skills are so powerful, because we understand how to create behavior and we understand how other people are able to create behavior. So it's asking yourself, what kind of stories can I tell? And I'm going to put you in a breakout rooms in a few minutes. And I would like you, if you've got, at least one person to come out with a story, So what's interesting is stories have different focus in different parts of the world. For example, if we look at Eastern stories, are mostly cautionary tales where the hero fails and you learn from their mistakes. Or you've got Western stories, the hero almost always overcomes their hardships. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. We'll go in for 7 minutes, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes each, and tell each other a story with a message and see if the other two people can pick up the message. Or just chat. You can just chat, but you can go and just chat. I don't care. But it's quite, maybe you can share some of the things that you use, the way that you use stories. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. I'll pop in the rooms. So let me just get feedback from a couple of people. How did you get on there? Who wants to feedback? Okay. Who was able to tell a story? Brad, actually, I heard you were telling a really cool story. So Paul, you've put your hand up, yep.
Okay, Anne and I had the pleasure of Gary, who, apart from his exhausting telephone directory of businesses he's involved in, is also a Toastmaster. And in 2019, correct me if I'm wrong, 2019, you were a world semi-finalist for the Toastmaster Award.
Fantastic.
And then I think similarly in 2022, you were Southern Africa champion as well. A man of much storytelling experience. Again, referring to Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart as being a good medium.
That's excellent. That's an excellent book, yeah.
To start that. But you used an acronym, which I love, which is the SPA process, which is tell the story, make a point, and how to apply it. And I think it was really, he gave us an example of one story that he uses, and I'll not go into the detail, but it just showed how you can turn that into something which is incredibly powerful and incredibly relevant. Anne and I were, I think I can speak for Anne and I were actually quite quiet through that story. Because,
okay, but that's the thing about stories. Stories connect with you. You remember stories. People will take away stories in their head, and they don't. We're connected but disconnected. It's not for us. A story's never for you. When you're listening to a story, it's never for you consciously. However, unconsciously, you might start doing the things that are in the story. Or should I say very often, unconsciously, you start doing the things that are in the story. Thank you, Paul. Thanks. Let me get one more.
So we had a couple of different stories. Dennis told a great story about eggs, potatoes, and coffee and how they get transformed in water and the lessons that brings to how you deal with hardship in life. And I told a story about Albrecht Dürer. And then Roger was starting a story about UFOs, and he suddenly got abducted.
That's all right.
Went into cyberspace. And so we didn't hear the end of the story, and we're really frustrated. But
okay, so what we'll do is come next week, we'll put you all in the same room, and you can finish the story next week, no matter what we're doing. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much for that. Let me just share with you what is launching on the 1st of May. I'm launching the NLP Mastery for Business and Coaching. And it's introducing, it's basically your game-changing pathway to harnessing, transforming the power of NLP tailored for business professionals. You can master these invaluable skills without the hefty price tag or time commitment of a traditional NLP certification program. I have wanted to do this for years. I know there's a lot of business professionals out there. There's a lot of people who've attended NLP trainings. There's a lot of coaches that they really don't want to spend the time. Very often it's not money, it's the time to go back in and spend 16 days doing an NLP program. This is not a certification we're talking about, and it definitely doesn't take the place of a certification, but not everyone needs a certification. Not everyone needs that. Most people need a work, especially when we're talking about business and coaches, most people need a working knowledge of NLP. Plus, if you've already done NLP training and you have no idea how to use it for business and coaching, this is what we've put together. As I said, I'm excited because this has taken me so long to do, but I want to thank everyone that's on the dual certification course at the moment, because the way we've actually structured this program, it's structured it step by step so that you can use these skills for business. So the cost, I'd like to know what we've got here, is 8 self-learning modules. And each module has up to 10 parts. So it's not tiny, it's big. And what it does is it comes out, we're going to launch, when it launches on the 1st of May, everyone will get access to module 1. And then 1 week later, module 2. And for the next 8 weeks, we'll launch a module a week. And for this particular training, because this is the initial training, I'm coming on every week to do 1 hour to maybe 2 hours live Q&A. So although you're doing the self-learning and it's videos and there's a really comprehensive manual, I can't believe what's happening with the manuals. Each manual is a workbook in its own rights. And I'm known for taking NLP step by step to help you to really apply it for business and coaching. And then you've got the live Q&A, and it's a personal number certificate of completion that comes when you have 100% completed everything. Now, the 100% completing everything means you have to complete all the videos, but also we have all the audios, because we talk about NLP, we talk about different senses, and the amount of extra information when you listen to the audios after watching the videos is huge. Everything's available on your phone. It's all on the Kajabi app. So you can listen to this, and you can watch it, and you can even do the knowledge quiz and the workbook. You can do it all with the writable PDF if you want, without having to print it off. So the price of this is going to be $975, and that will be for the complete self-learning without the live Q&A. This is what it will be. And we've offered this at the moment for $575 or 4 payments of $199. NLP trained and interested in joining the NLP Business Circle Club, email me at fiona@theprofessionalgrowthcompany.com. And then we'll send you details of the club that's been running for 3 years now. I can't believe it. We're into our 4th year. And we've got a lovely group of people that are very dedicated to developing their NLP skills for business and coaching. Okay, so have we got any questions about anything? That's our time up for this evening. Next week, I'll stay on here for a while. Next week, it's moving mindsets from problems to solutions. So you'll be getting the technique that I use, and I've actually taken that into companies, and we've helped to change the companies. It's so simple. But when leaders start to use this, we start to find that the mindset just goes away from a problem focus to a solution focus. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll see you all next week. Anyone who wants any information on this training or wants to talk about it, give me a shout. Just give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you very much.